All right, welcome to another awesome recipe. Today we are making our green beans with shiitake mushrooms and shallots. This is courtesy of my good friend JJ Virgin, the #1 New York Times bestselling author of the Virgin Diet. Really awesome stuff we have for you today. Really simple recipe too. So I've started off actually by kind of pre-cooking my green beans. I basically boiled them in boiling water for 2 minutes, then I blanched them. They're a little bit softer than I'd like, but I kind of let them go a little bit longer. Don't tell anyone. But we're gonna let them sit for a second. We're gonna get this stuff in the frying pan. We're gonna kind of soften it all up, and then we're gonna add the green beans in, throw in a little coconut amino. If you don't know what this is kind of like Bragg's amino acid, but it's coconut based as opposed to soy based. You don't have to use this. It's nice if you have it. It's just kind of a flavor enhancer. You can use anything else really. You can use apple cider vinegar, you can use balsamic vinegar, anything you want to add a bit of flavor to this recipe. So I'm going to, while we're kind of talking here and getting this stuff ready, I'm going to turn the burner on and I'll get this going so that it's ready to go. I'm going to put in some coconut oil into our frying pan because, as we talked about before, we want to be using high quality stable fats when we are heating anything. Otherwise, we are turning those fats into dangerous rancid oils, which is not good. Okay, so we've got red pepper. I'm just going to start to cut this up. And again, you can go as, as fine or as coarse as you like with your cutting. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to go nice and small with these guys. I'm actually going to cut the green beans as well. And just because just to have a kind of a familiar consistency and size across all the ingredients. We've got some shiitake mushrooms, which look like this. And we're just going to remove the stems so you can pull them off or cut them off, however you like. I'm just going to pull them off because it's easier to do that. Let's pull that off. So you're left with the dome of the mushroom. Shiitake mushrooms, amazing healing properties, really good for the immune system. Not as common as bell mushrooms or portobello, but really awesome, nice flavor. I'm going to cut these up. And we'll throw them into the mix in just a moment. So we'll finish off with our shallots, which are, again, a cross between a garlic and an onion. And I'm just going to remove the peel, cut it in half, easily remove the skin like so, I think. Sometimes they're a bit more stubborn than you'd like them to be. But then if that's the case, you can use the back side of a knife or the sharp side to just kind of peel off the skin like that. Or you can just take that outer layer of the skin of the shallot and remove it all together. So that actually saves you a little bit of time. It removes a little bit of the shallot, but you save time. So I'm going to cut one more up. I've got another one that's already pre-cut up here. I'm going to use a total of 2.5 shallots. The recipe calls for 2, I do believe. But just, anything that's going to enhance the flavor in a way that's safe and healthy is all good in my books. Toss that in the garbage. Okay, give these guys a little chop. So I'm using a small knife here, so it's a little bit tougher to, as you can see, kind of go, crazy choppy like I can with the bigger knife. So if I switch over to the big knife, you'll see the difference here. It's quite a bit easier because you can actually just kind of set it up and use its base as leverage as you chop through. So having a really good, nice kind of chef's knife is really helpful in the kitchen. Saves you a lot of time, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. So having, I think having a paring knife, so this, and a chef's knife, this one here, is pretty much all you need in terms of knives to make magic happen in the kitchen. Okay, so that's all done. I'm gonna just throw these stems out. And I believe our coconut oil I'm gonna actually add a little bit more. There's not quite enough in there. And coconut oil, just in case you're wondering, yes, it's a fat, but it's a really healthy fat. So the benefit is it contains a lot of antimicrobial, antibacterial, and antifungal properties. It's loaded with MCTs, which are medium chain triglycerides, and they are very, very helpful for actually burning fat, which is kind of counterintuitive for a fat, right? You wouldn't think fat actually burns fat, but it does. So I'm gonna just turn that up a little bit. Get those guys doing their thing. Just drop that. 5-second rule. You didn't see the red pepper on the floor. I just threw it in. It's all good. Don't worry about it. And I'm just going to give the green beans a coarse chop. So they're about 1 inch in length. Okay. Green beans, you don't see them that often in recipes nowadays, unless you live in France where they use them all the time. So we're going to get these guys going. We'll throw the green beans in a second once that's kind of all softened up. And we're going to add in some coconut amino acids, coconut aminos as well as we go through. You can add in some sea salts into the mix and some fresh ground pepper. So again, like all these recipes are taking like 5, 6, 7 minutes. My goal with this whole recipe book, this whole cookbook, was to keep them under 15 minutes. So most of the recipes are well under that. There's a couple that you have to set aside, 30 minutes to keep in the oven, stuff like that, but that's really maybe a handful of them. Everything else is 15 minutes or less, and most of the ones are 10 minutes or less. So we're just gonna get these going, get their flavors all nice and combined. And the other awesome thing, I don't know if I've mentioned this, I think I mentioned this in the past, was in shopping for all the ingredients for putting together these videos for you, I spent a whopping $265 on all the ingredients for all 67 recipes in this cookbook. So if you break it down, you're looking at about $4 to $5 per meal, which is insane if you think about it. If you go to McDonald's, you get a Big Mac combo, you're looking at about $8 or $9. So when you hear people say healthy eating costs a lot of money, well, it doesn't have to cost a lot of money if you know how to do things properly. So if you just ate these 67 meals for the next 30 days, your entire grocery bill would be under $300. That's a pretty good investment if you ask me, right? Okay, so these are doing their thing. Turn it down a little bit. Personally, I like cooking on gas stoves. This is a really interesting induction stove. Pretty cool. Heats up very quickly. And we'll throw in the green beans next. Pop these guys in. And as we're doing that, we'll throw in the coconut aminos for our little flavor enhancements. Whoop. So, I don't know if you just saw that, but I threw in way too much coconut amino. I actually thought there was a little bit of a spout there, but there wasn't. So there's way too much in this. But you know what? That's the joy of what we do. Sometimes you mess around in the kitchen, sometimes you make little mistakes. And what I could do in this case is I could just kind of burn it off. I could let it cook for a couple minutes and kind of evaporate it all, which is probably what I'll do. But I'll show you this in the meantime so you can have a look at our finished product almost, and you can see all the coconut aminos. There's a lot of liquid. It shouldn't look like that. It kind of should look like that without the liquid. Anyways, I'm gonna let it do its thing. It's probably gonna be pretty flavorful, pretty strong, so I'm gonna just kind of let that evaporate for a bit, but I hope you get the idea. It's really straightforward. And if you mess up in the kitchen, hey, you know what? I mess up in the kitchen all the time as well. It's part of the fun. Get your kids involved, let them mess around, and that's what it's all about. So enjoy the green beans, shiitake, and shallots concoction. You can throw it into a salad bowl or a serving dish, however you like, and enjoy.